The classroom aboard the Times, Stellar Harmony Times, was unlike any schoolroom on Earth. The walls shifted colors based on the emotional states of the students, and the seats adjusted automatically to fit bodies of 40 different shapes and sizes. Daewon stood at the front, holding a small holographic projector in his palm. He was used to the strange looks his alien students gave him. After 3 months teaching aboard the diplomatic vessel, he had learned that humans confused most species in the galaxy. Today's lesson was about Earth animals. Specifically, the ones humans kept in their homes as companions. The concept of pets baffled most alien species. Why would any intelligent creature willingly share living space with another animal? What purpose did it serve? Daewon pressed the projector, and a small orange cat appeared in the air above his hand. The hologram showed the cat cleaning its paw, then rolling over to expose its belly. Several students made sounds of confusion. One made a sound that might have been disgust. "This is a house cat," Daewon explained, keeping his voice friendly and clear. "Humans have lived with these animals for over 10,000 years. We keep them in our homes. They sleep in our beds. Some people love their cats more than they love other humans." A thin, green-scaled student named Rixol raised a clawed hand. "But Teacher Daewon, this creature has teeth and claws. I can see them in the projection. Why would you allow a predator into your sleeping space?" Daewon smiled. He got this question almost every class. Cats are small predators. Yes, but they're not dangerous to adult humans. They hunt small animals like mice and birds. We domesticated them because they killed pests that ate our food stores. "Domesticated?" another student asked. "This one was covered in soft blue fur and had 6 eyes. It means we changed them over many generations. We made them gentler. We made them want to live with us. They're still predators, but they're our predators now." That's when Piplix raised their translucent claw. The young Veltari was always full of questions. Their insect-like body would vibrate when they got excited about a topic. Right now, those vibrations were making a soft humming sound that filled the classroom. "Yes, Piplix?" Daewon called on the hatchling. "Teacher, I am confused about size. How big is this cat predator? And you said domesticated means changed. Does that mean there is an unchanged version? A wild version that is different?" Daewon paused. He hadn't expected the lesson to go in this direction, but he was pleased. Piplix was one of his brightest students. The hatchling thought deeply about everything. Good questions. "A house cat is small. About this big." He held his hands apart to show the size. "Maybe 4 to 5 kilograms in weight. As for wild versions, well, that's complicated. House cats came from wild cats originally, but those wild cats were already small. However, cats belong to a larger family of predators called felines. And some of those felines are much, much bigger." The classroom went silent. Every student was staring at Daewon now. Even the ones who usually didn't pay attention were focused. "How much bigger?" Piplix asked, their voice barely a whisper. "Some are 60 times heavier than a house cat, maybe more." Several students made alarmed noises. One actually fell out of their chair. "And humans know about these large felines?" asked Rixol. "Know about them? We live on the same planet with them. We've shared Earth with big cats for hundreds of thousands of years. But surely these large predators were removed? Eliminated? No species could develop civilization while sharing territory with massive predators." The blue-furred student sounded genuinely distressed. Daewon shook his head slowly. "We didn't eliminate them. Some species of big cats went extinct, yes, but not because we tried to kill them all. We hunted them sometimes. They hunted us sometimes. Mostly we just learned to live in the same world. And now, we work very hard to protect the ones that are left." "Protect them?" Piplix's antennae were standing straight up. "You protect the large predators?" "Of course. They're beautiful creatures. They're part of Earth's history. Part of our history. Many humans travel long distances just to see big cats in the wild. We have special protected areas where they can live safely. The classroom exploded with noise. Every student was talking at once, asking questions, expressing disbelief. Day one let them talk for a moment. This was exactly the kind of engagement he wanted. Getting aliens to understand Earth and humanity meant challenging their assumptions. He raised his hand for quiet. Slowly, the room settled down. I can see you all have strong feelings about this. Let me show you something else. He adjusted the projector. The small house cat disappeared. In its place appeared a massive orange and black striped creature. It was lying in tall grass. Its enormous paws stretched out in front of it. Its eyes were half closed, and it looked almost peaceful. This is a tiger, one of the largest feline predators on Earth. This is what a big cat looks like. No one made a sound. The image of the tiger dominated the classroom. Even as a hologram, it was impressive. The sheer size of it made several students shift backward in their seats. The tiger and the house cat are related. They share ancestors from millions of years ago. They have similar behaviors. Both of them hunt. Both of them are carnivores. Both of them have sharp teeth and claws. The main difference is size and strength. A tiger can take down prey that weighs more than itself. It can run fast, climb trees, and swim. It's an apex predator, which means nothing hunts it. It's at the top of its food chain. How do humans survive? Piplix asked quietly. It was such a simple question, but it cut right to the heart of what made humans different. Day one looked at the young Veltari and saw genuine curiosity mixed with fear. How could he explain humanity in a way that made sense to species who had never faced real predators? That's a bigger question than you might think, Piplix. Humans survived because we're good at adapting. We're good at making tools. We're good at working together. We're good at learning and planning. We might not have claws or sharp teeth or thick fur, but we have something better. We have brains that can solve problems. But a tiger is so much stronger, another student protested. Strength isn't everything. Intelligence matters. Strategy matters. Cooperation matters. Humans became the dominant species on Earth not because we were the biggest, or strongest, or fastest. We became dominant because we could think our way around problems, because we could work as teams, because we never, ever gave up. The bell chimed, signaling the end of class. Students began gathering their belongings, but the chatter was all about cats, and tigers, and humans. Day one noticed that Piplix hadn't moved. The hatchling was still staring at the hologram of the tiger. Piplix, class is over. The young Veltari looked up at him. Teacher Day one, could I possibly see a real tiger someday? Not just a hologram? Day one thought about it. There were wildlife preserves on Earth. Places where tigers and other endangered species were protected and allowed to thrive. It would be complicated to arrange, but not impossible. And it might be incredibly educational, not just for Piplix, but for any alien student who wanted to truly understand Earth. Let me see what I can do, he said. That evening, Day one sat in his quarters and composed a request to the Coalition Council. He proposed an educational field trip to Earth, a chance for young alien students to see Earth's biosphere firsthand, to understand where humans came from and why they were the way they were. He included safety protocols, learning objectives, and a detailed itinerary. He made it sound professional and academic, but in his heart, he was excited. The chance to show aliens what Earth was really like, what humans were really like, was too good to pass up. 3 days later, the approval came through. The trip was authorized for 5 students and 2 human guides. Day one immediately contacted Hirim, his friend who worked in the engineering section. She had grown up near one of the wildlife preserves and knew the terrain well. When he told Piplix the news, the hatchling vibrated so intensely they nearly fell over. Other students who had been in the class asked to join. By the end of the week, the roster was full. They would leave in 10 days. Destination: Earth. Purpose: to see a tiger. The shuttle times Begdu times was small compared to the times Stellar Harmony asterisk, but it was built for comfort. Human engineering always prioritized smooth rides and reliable systems. Captain Tae-young sat in the pilot's seat, her hands moving across the controls with practiced ease. She had flown supply runs between Earth and the orbital stations for 15 years. This was her first time transporting alien students. All passengers secured? She called back through the open doorway. Secured and ready, Dae-won replied. He was sitting near the back, surrounded by 5 young aliens who were all pressed against the windows. Their home station was already shrinking behind them. Ahead, stars filled the view screen like scattered diamonds. Piplix sat closest to Dae-won, their segmented bodies strapped into a seat that had been specially modified for Veltari physiology. The hatchling hadn't stopped vibrating with excitement since boarding. Next to Piplix was Rixal, the green-scaled student who always asked logical questions. Across from them sat 3 others. A floating gas being named Whisper, a thick-shelled targ named Gom, and a small furry creature called Yip, who communicated through electronic translation. Journey time to Earth is 8 standard days, Tae-young announced. We'll be taking the scenic route through the outer system so you can see some of our planets. Consider it part of your education. Rim entered from the cargo section, carrying containers of various foods. She had spent the last 2 days preparing meals that would be safe for all the different species aboard. It was complicated work. What was nutritious for one species might be toxic to another. Meal schedule is posted on the wall screen, she said, distributing the containers. If anyone feels sick, tell us immediately. Space travel affects different species in different ways. There was also a 6th alien aboard, though he wasn't a student. Instructor Vilmoth was a representative from the Coalition Education Board. His species, the Voth, looked like thick-bodied reptiles with heavy scales and thoughtful eyes. He had barely spoken since boarding, but Dae-won could feel the weight of his observation. Vilmoth was here to make sure the humans didn't put the students in danger. Instructor Vilmoth, Dae-won said politely, would you like to help with the first lesson? The Voth turned his large head slowly. What lesson? We're going to talk about Earth. About what makes it different from most inhabited worlds. Vilmoth's scales shifted in a way that might have been concern. Very well. I am curious to hear this myself. Dae-won moved to the center of the passenger area, where everyone could see him. He activated a holographic display that showed Earth rotating slowly in the air. This is our home. Earth, 3rd planet from our sun. It looks peaceful, doesn't it? The students all agreed. It was beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. It looked like many habitable worlds. What you're seeing is deceptive. Earth is what we call a death world in galactic terms. Death world? Piplix asked. A planet where almost everything is trying to kill you. Or at least, that's how it seems. Earth has aggressive weather. Storms that can destroy buildings. Earthquakes that split the ground open. Volcanoes that cover entire regions in ash. Our gravity is stronger than most inhabited worlds. Our atmosphere has more oxygen, which makes fires burn hotter and faster. Our sun's radiation is intense. And then there's the life. He zoomed the display in on a forest. Earth has millions of species. Many of them are dangerous. Venomous snakes, poisonous spiders, parasites that can live inside your body, bacteria and viruses that evolve to be incredibly aggressive, and predators. So many predators. Gom, the thick-shelled targ, made a rumbling sound. But your species evolved there. How is this possible? If the planet is so hostile, that's exactly the point. We evolved there times because times it was hostile. Every challenge made us stronger, made us smarter, made us more adaptable. Humans can survive in frozen wastelands and burning deserts. We can climb mountains where the air is thin. We can swim in deep water. We learn to eat almost anything, Use almost any material. Adapt to almost any environment. Hayrim joined in. I grew up near the mountains in the Gangwon region. That's where we're going. When I was young, my family would go camping in areas where wild animals lived. Bears, wolves, even tigers, though they were very rare by then. You slept outside, where predators could find you. Rixel sounded horrified. We took precautions, hung our food in trees so bears wouldn't smell it. Made fires to keep animals away. Stayed together, as a group. But yes, we slept in tents with just thin fabric between us, and whatever was outside. Why would anyone do this voluntarily? Whisper asked, their translated voice full of confusion. Hirim smiled. Because it's beautiful. Because it reminds us where we came from. Because facing a little danger makes you feel alive. Vilmoth spoke up for the first time. This explains much about human behavior. Your species seeks risk. You find it enjoyable? Some of us do. Daewon admitted. Humans have different tolerances for risk. Some like to play it safe. Others chase danger. But all of us carry the legacy of surviving on a death world. It's in our bones, our instincts. The days passed with more lessons. Daewon taught them about Earth's weather patterns. Tornadoes and thunderstorms. The alien students watched in stunned silence as lightning split the sky and winds tore apart buildings. On most civilized worlds, weather was mild and predictable. On Earth, it could kill you. He showed them Earth's oceans, full of creatures that ranged from microscopic plankton to massive whales longer than the shuttle they rode in. He showed them the deep places where pressure would crush any ship that wasn't specially designed. He showed them the beaches where waves could sweep away anyone who wasn't careful. Water covers 70% of Earth's surface, he explained. Humans started as land creatures, but we learned to swim. We learned to build boats. We learned to dive deep and sail far. Water that could drown us became a highway for exploration. Piplix absorbed everything. The hatchling took notes constantly, their translator working overtime to keep up with all the questions. But there was one question that kept coming back. When will we see the big cats? Soon. Daewon promised. When we reach Earth, the preserve where they live is our first stop. On the 6th day, they passed Mars. The red planet looked dead and cold. But Tae-young explained that humans had settlements there. Underground cities where thousands of people lived and worked. We can survive anywhere, she said with obvious pride. If we can make Mars livable, we can make anywhere livable. On the 7th day, Earth filled the forward view screen. The alien students pressed against the windows, trying to see everything at once. From space, it really did look peaceful, beautiful, inviting. Tomorrow we land, Daewon announced. Tonight, you should all rest. Tomorrow is going to be overwhelming, but none of them could sleep. Piplix lay in their sleeping pod, thinking about tigers, about predators that weighed 60 times more than a house cat, about a world so dangerous that every creature on it had to be tough just to survive, and about humans who had not just survived, but thrived. There was something Daewon hadn't said directly, but Piplix was beginning to understand it. Humans weren't impressive. Despite coming from a death world, they were impressive because of it. Every challenge had shaped them. Every danger had taught them something new. The hatchling wondered what it would be like to evolve under such pressure. The Veltari came from a peaceful world where the biggest threat was bad weather. They had never faced real predators. Never had to fight for survival. Maybe that was why they seemed so fragile compared to humans. Morning came. The shuttle shook slightly as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Through the windows, Piplix could see clouds rushing past. Then, forests. Then mountains, covered in green. Beginning descent to Gangwon Wildlife Preserve, Tae-young announced. Everyone hold tight. The landing was smooth. The shuttle settled onto a platform surrounded by tall trees. When the door opened, air rushed in. It smelled different from the recycled air on the station. It smelled alive. And rich. Complex. Day One stood at the doorway, breathing deeply. Welcome to Earth. One by one, the alien students stepped out onto the platform. The gravity was noticeably stronger. Piplix felt heavier. Slower. The air was thicker. And there were sounds everywhere. Birds calling. Insects buzzing. Wind rustling through leaves. Hayrim pointed to a distant mountain peak. The preserve covers everything you can see from here. 10,000 square kilometers of protected wilderness. Some of the last places on Earth where animals can live completely wild. Then they heard it. A sound that made every alien freeze. It was deep. Powerful. It resonated in their chests and made their instincts scream danger. It was a roar. Distant, but unmistakable. The roar of something big. Something dangerous. Something that was definitely a predator. Piplix's antennae flattened against their head. Every survival instinct told them to run, to hide, to get back in the shuttle. But Day One was smiling. That, he said calmly, is why we're here. The observation center was built into the side of a hill. Its walls made of some material that looked like stone but was probably much stronger. Inside, the temperature was comfortable and the lighting was soft. Dr. Bo Young met them at the entrance. She was a small woman, with gray hair and kind eyes that crinkled when she smiled. Welcome to Gangwon Preserve, she said, bowing slightly. I'm Dr. Bo Young, the director here. We're honored to host such distinguished visitors. Vilmoth inclined his head respectfully. Thank you for allowing us to observe your conservation efforts. The Coalition is very interested in Earth's approach to wildlife management. Then you've come to the right place. Dr. Bo Young gestured for them to follow her into a large room filled with holographic displays and observation screens. This preserve is the result of 70 years of work. We've brought back species that were nearly extinct. Siberian tigers, Amur leopards, Asian elephants, several species of bears, even some animals that went extinct centuries ago were revived through genetic programs. The alien students moved from display to display. Each one showed a different animal. Some looked relatively harmless. Others looked absolutely terrifying. Piplix stopped in front of a display showing wolves. These hunt in packs, Dr. Bo Young explained, noticing the hatchling's interest. They work together to bring down prey much larger than themselves. Cooperation is their greatest weapon. They communicate with body language, sounds, and even facial expressions. In many ways, they taught humans about teamwork. Taught humans? Rixel asked. You mean humans learn from the predators? Of course. Humans are excellent at learning from observation. We watched how wolves hunted and applied those lessons to our own hunting strategies. Pack tactics, surrounding prey, cutting off escape routes, working together to exhaust the target. Many of our military strategies come from watching predators. That seemed to disturb the alien students. Whisper drifted away from the wolf display quickly. Even Gom, who had thick protective armor, seemed uncomfortable. A young woman in a ranger uniform approached. She had a bright smile and moved with the easy confidence of someone who spent most of their time outdoors. I'm Ranger G1. I'll be your guide for today. Dr. Bo Young handles the science. I handle the practical side of keeping everyone safe. Safe? Piplix asked, nervously. Don't worry. We have multiple safety systems, force field barriers, tracking systems that monitor every large animal in the preserve, emergency protocols for every possible situation. In 15 years of operation, we've never had a serious incident. She paused. Well, except for that one time a bear figured out how to bypass a barrier, but we fixed that design flaw immediately. That didn't make the alien students feel better. G1 led them through a corridor to an elevator. We're going up to the skywalks. They're transparent walkways suspended above the animal habitats. You'll be able to see the animals in their natural environment without disturbing them. The elevator rose smoothly. When the doors opened, they stepped out onto a walkway made of clear material. Below them, forest stretched in every direction, and the walkway was completely transparent. It felt like walking on air. Several students froze. Gom refused to step onto the clear surface until Day One walked out first and jumped up and down to show it was solid. The skywalks run for 50 kilometers through the preserve, G1 explained as they walked. They're designed to be invisible to the animals below. From their perspective, we don't exist. They walked for 20 minutes, seeing birds in the trees and small animals on the forest floor. Then G1 stopped and held up a hand. Quiet now. Look down and to the left. Everyone looked. At first, Piplix saw nothing but trees and shadows. Then the shadows moved. No, not shadows. Wolves. 5 of them, moving through the undergrowth with perfect coordination. They were hunting something. Watch, G1 whispered. The wolves spread out, forming a loose circle. In the center of that circle, a deer grazed, unaware. The wolves moved closer, each step careful and silent. Then, at some signal Piplix couldn't see, they attacked. It was brutal and efficient. The deer ran, but there was nowhere to go. Every direction had a wolf. They drove it toward the largest wolf, who brought it down with a quick bite to the neck. Within minutes, it was over. Several alien students made sounds of distress. Yip's translator was emitting a high-pitched whine. Even Vilmoth looked disturbed, but Day One and the other humans watched calmly. Hirim even seemed impressed. Beautiful coordination, she said quietly. How can you call that beautiful? Rixall demanded. That was violent. Cruel. It was nature. Day One replied. The wolves need to eat. The deer was food. There's no cruelty in it. Just survival. This is how life works on Earth. Everything eats something else. The cycle continues. Your species evolved watching this, Vilmoth said slowly. Surrounded by this violence. Yes. And we participated in it. Humans were both hunters and hunted for most of our history. We had to be good at both roles to survive. They continued walking. The wolves fell behind, now feeding on their kill. The skywalk curved through the canopy, offering views of different parts of the preserve. They saw bears fishing in a stream. They saw eagles circling overhead. They saw dozens of species that the alien students had no names for. Then, G1 stopped again. This is what you came for. Ahead, the skywalk widened into a circular platform with benches and information displays. But everyone's attention was on what lay below. A clearing in the trees, covered in tall grass. And moving through that grass, almost invisible despite its size, was the tiger. It was enormous. Even from above, even through the clear barrier, it radiated power. Orange and black stripes rippled across muscles that moved like liquid under fur. Its paws were bigger than Piplix's entire head. Its tail swished slowly as it walked. That's Taeyang, Dr. Bo Young said softly. He's one of our largest Siberian males. 280 kilograms. 4 years old. In his prime, the tiger stopped and looked up. Straight at them. Its eyes were golden and intelligent. For a moment, Piplix felt like the tiger could see them, despite the invisible walkway. Could see into them. Could measure them as prey. Every instinct screamed to run. The tiger's mouth opened in what might have been a yawn. Teeth. Long, sharp teeth, designed for gripping and tearing. Then it sat down, curled its tail around its body, and began cleaning its paw with its tongue. The gesture was identical to the house cat videos from Day One's class. House cats do that, Piplix whispered. Yes, Day One said. They're related. Millions of years of evolution separate them, but they're still family. The behaviors are similar, The hunting instincts are the same. The main difference is size and strength. And humans lived with these? Gom asked. We shared the land with them. In old Korea, tigers were everywhere. They lived in the mountains and forests. Sometimes they came into villages. Sometimes they killed livestock or even people. But mostly, we avoided each other. Humans told stories about tigers. We painted them on walls. We respected them as powerful spirits. Jiwon added. Tigers are solitary hunters. Unlike wolves, they don't work in packs. A tiger hunts alone, using stealth and strength. They can take down prey that weighs more than they do. Water buffalo, wild boar, even young elephants sometimes. Below, Taeyang finished cleaning his paw and stood up. He stretched, his front legs extending forward, and his back arching. Every muscle was visible beneath the striped fur. Then he walked away, disappearing into the tall grass like a ghost. Where is he going? Whisper asked. To hunt, probably. Doctor, Bo-young said. Tigers are most active at dawn and dusk. It's nearly evening now. He'll find prey, stalk it, and kill it quickly. Then, he'll eat his fill. And rest. How often does he need to eat? A tiger needs about 6 to 8 kilograms of meat per day. But they don't eat every day. They might make a large kill and feed on it for several days. Or they might go a week without a successful hunt. It varies. The group stayed on the observation platform for over an hour. They saw 2 more tigers at a distance. They saw deer and wild boar. They saw the ecosystem functioning exactly as it had for millions of years. As the sun began to set, Ji-won said, We should head to the ground-level facility. There's something I think you'd like to see before it gets dark. The ground-level observation post was different from the skywalks. Here, they were on the same level as the animals, separated only by force field barriers that hummed with energy. The room had thick walls and reinforced glass on 3 sides. One side looked out onto the tiger habitat. The force fields are strong enough to stop anything, Ji-won assured them. But they're also tuned to not harm the animals. If a tiger touches the field, it just feels like a solid wall. They waited for 10 minutes. Then, through the grass, movement, Taeyang was approaching. He walked right up to the barrier and sniffed at it. His nose wrinkled at the energy field's scent. Then Daewon did something that made every alien student gasp. He walked right up to the barrier, just an arm's length from the tiger. He held out his hand, not touching the field but close. Taeyang stared at him, the tiger's golden eyes fixed on the human. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Taeyang did something remarkable. He rubbed his face against the barrier, right where Daewon's hand was. The gesture was gentle, almost affectionate, just like a house cat greeting its owner. They're so similar, Piplix breathed. Yes, Daewon said, not taking his eyes off the tiger. This is what I wanted you to understand. The tiger and the house cat share the same instincts, the same behaviors. We domesticated cats because we recognized that predatory nature and decided we could live with it, that we could benefit from it. Suddenly, Taeyang roared. The sound was incredible. It filled the room, vibrated in their chests, rattled their bones. It was power made into sound. It was a warning and a declaration. It said, I am here. I am strong. Stay away. The alien students panicked. Rixall dropped to the floor. Yip tried to run but tripped over their own feet. Even Vilmoth stumbled backward, but the humans just smiled. Taeyang, watching from near the door, laughed. He's just saying hello. That was a threat, Whisper protested. No, Dr. Bo-young said gently. That was communication. Tigers roar for many reasons. To mark territory. To call to other tigers. Sometimes just because they feel like it. Taeyang knows we're here. He's not threatened by us because the barrier keeps him safe. He was just making noise. Piplix looked at Daewon, who was still standing calmly near the barrier. The tiger had settled down, and was lying in the grass now, watching them with lazy interest. "How?" the hatchling asked. "How did humans survive this?" Daewon turned to face the group. His expression was serious now. "That's the real question, isn't it? How did we not just survive, but become the dominant species? Would you like to see the answer?" The Human Heritage Center was a short walk from the Tiger Observation Post. The building was designed to blend with the landscape, its walls covered in climbing plants, and its roof topped with solar panels and gardens. Inside, it was cool and quiet. The lights were dim, making the holographic displays glow brighter. Professor Kyung-soo was waiting for them in the main hall. He was tall for a human, with gray streaks in his dark hair and the weathered hands of someone who spent time in the field, not just in laboratories. He smiled warmly as they entered. "Welcome, welcome. I'm Professor Kyung-soo. I study human evolution, particularly how we became persistence hunters. Dr. Bo Young tells me you've just seen Taeyang." The tiger roared at us, Rixal said, still sounding shaken. "And you survived. That's the human story in miniature right there. Face danger, survive it, learn from it." The professor gestured to the displays around them. "This center tells the story of how humans went from prey to predator, how we became the most successful species on our planet." The first display showed early human ancestors. They looked fragile compared to modern humans. Smaller, less muscular. They stood upright but hunched over, as if ready to run at any moment. "This is what we looked like several million years ago," Kyung-soo explained. "We weren't impressive. No claws, no fangs, no armor or venom. We had relatively weak jaws and flat teeth. We were slow runners compared to prey animals, weak fighters compared to predators. By all logic, we should have gone extinct." "What changed?" Piplix asked. "Everything, but it happened slowly. First, we started walking upright all the time. This freed our hands, hands that could grip, hands that could throw, hands that could make tools." The next display showed a primitive stone tool, just a rock that had been chipped and shaped to have a sharp edge. It looked crude. "This changed the world," Kyung-soo said, picking up a replica. "With this, we could cut meat, crack bones to get at the marrow inside, defend ourselves, process plant materials. A simple tool. But it multiplied our capabilities." He led them to a larger display showing a hunting scene. Ancient humans. A group of them, chasing an antelope across an open plain. The humans weren't fast. The antelope kept pulling ahead, but the humans didn't stop. "This is persistence hunting. It's our secret weapon. Watch." The holographic scene played out. The antelope ran hard, then stopped to rest. The humans jogged steadily behind, never stopping. When they got close, the antelope ran again. This pattern repeated over and over. Hours passed in the display. The sun moved across the sky, and slowly, the antelope's runs got shorter. Its rest periods got longer. It began to stumble. Finally, it couldn't run anymore. It collapsed, exhausted. The humans walked up to it and finished the hunt with stone tools. "That's horrible," Whisper said. "You chased it until it couldn't move?" "We chased it until we won," Kyung-soo corrected gently. Persistence hunting works because humans have incredible endurance. We can regulate our body temperature through sweating. Most animals can't do that. They overheat. We can run for hours in the heat of the day. We can maintain a steady pace when other animals have to sprint and rest. We outlasted them. "You weaponized endurance," Vilmoth said slowly. "Just as I suspected." "Exactly. We couldn't outrun prey in a short chase. We couldn't overpower large animals. But we could outlast anything. And we did. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans were persistence hunters. We ran prey to exhaustion across Africa, Asia, Europe. Anywhere we went, we used this strategy. The next display showed human evolution progressing. The figures became taller, more muscular. Their skulls changed shape, showing larger brains. Their posture straightened. As we hunted, we evolved. Better endurance, better cooling systems, bigger brains to plan complex hunts, better social skills to coordinate as groups. We became specialized for persistence hunting. Our entire body design is built for it. Kyung-soo walked to a new section showing various human technologies: spears, bows, traps, fire, clothing, shelters. But endurance was just the beginning. We learned to make better tools, weapons that could kill from a distance, traps that could capture animals without direct confrontation, fire that could drive predators away and cook our food, clothing that let us survive in any climate, shelters that protected us from weather and animals. And then we started teaching each other, Hye-rim added. That's the real key. Every human could learn from every other human. We passed knowledge down through generations. We improved on previous designs. We experimented. We innovated. A massive display activated, showing a map of Earth. Red dots appeared, showing human migration patterns, starting in Africa, then spreading to Asia, Europe, Australia, and eventually the Americas. Everywhere humans went, the megafauna started disappearing. This is controversial, Kyung-soo admitted. But the evidence is clear. Wherever humans arrived, large animals went extinct within a few thousand years. Mammoths, giant sloths, cave bears, massive birds, all gone. You killed them all? Gom asked, sounding horrified. We contributed to their extinction, yes. Climate change played a role too. But humans were efficient hunters. Too efficient sometimes. We could kill faster than populations could reproduce. And we weren't just hunting for food. We hunted for territory, for resources, for safety. You hunted predators? Rixal asked. Of course. If a cave bear was living near our settlement, it was a threat. So we killed it. If a pack of wolves was taking our prey, we killed them. We didn't just coexist with predators. We competed with them. And we usually won. The display changed to show a confrontation between early humans and a massive bear. The bear was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the largest human. But the humans had numbers and weapons. They surrounded it. They jabbed it with spears, staying just out of reach. They threw rocks. They made noise to confuse it. Eventually, the bear went down. This is what humans are, Kyung-soo said. We're not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most naturally armed, but we're smart. We cooperate. We plan. We adapt. And we never give up. Ever. Another display showed more recent human history. Agriculture, cities, technology, science, space travel. We stopped being pure hunters about 10,000 years ago. We learned to farm, to domesticate animals, to build civilizations. But the hunting instincts never went away. We just redirected them. A video played showing modern humans doing various activities. Rock climbing, marathon running, team sports, exploration, engineering projects. We still push ourselves. We still work in teams to achieve goals. We still plan and adapt. The targets changed from prey animals to challenges of different kinds, but the drive is the same. Piplik stared at a display showing a human marathon runner. The person was clearly exhausted, their face covered in sweat, but they kept running. Step after step after step. The same persistence that had chased antelope across ancient plains. And the tigers? The hatchling asked quietly. Why didn't you kill all of them? Dr. Bo Young, who had been watching from the side, stepped forward. We almost did. By the 20th century, tigers were nearly extinct. Humans had spread across their territory. We hunted them for their fur and bones. We destroyed their forests to build farms and cities. Less than 100 years ago, there were only a few thousand tigers left in the entire world. What stopped you? We evolved again. Not physically this time, but culturally. We realized we were destroying the world that made us. We looked at tigers and saw something worth saving. Not because they were useful, not because they were harmless, but because they were magnificent. Because they represented the wild world we came from. Our minds. So you protect them now, Vilmoth said. We protect them now. We set aside land where they can live wild and free. We study them to understand them better. We work to make sure they never go extinct, not because we stopped being predators, but because we became something more. We became stewards. Kyung-soo activated one final display. It showed the diversity of human achievement. Art and music. Medicine and science. Philosophy and mathematics. Space stations and terraforming. And alongside it all, images of Earth's wildlife being protected and preserved. This is humanity now. We're still competitive, still driven, still capable of incredible persistence and determination. But we've learned to channel it. We compete with challenges instead of creatures. We hunt for knowledge instead of meat. We work together on a global scale to solve problems. He paused, looking at each of the alien students, but never forget where we came from. We're the species that ran prey to exhaustion under the burning sun, that fought predators with stone and wood, that crossed entire continents on foot just to see what was there, that looked at a hostile universe and decided to explore it. We're persistence hunters who learned to hunt bigger and bigger challenges. And we're the species that decided to keep small predators as pets, Daewon added with a smile. Because even after everything we've achieved, we still remember our connection to the wild. The group was silent for a long moment. Even Vilmoth seemed moved by what they'd seen. Finally, Piplik spoke. Teacher Daewon, I have one more question. Yes? Are humans still predators? Even now, with all your civilization and technology, are you still dangerous? It was a child's question, but it cut to the heart of everything. Daewon considered his answer carefully. We like to think we've evolved beyond that. We've built a civilization based on cooperation and peace. We protect instead of destroy. We learn instead of conquer. He paused. But the instincts are still there. The endurance, the tool-making, the cooperation, the persistence. We just direct them differently now. We hunt problems instead of prey. We chase goals instead of game. Hayrim added softly. We're predators who learned empathy. That's what makes us dangerous and what makes us capable of peace. We understand hunting because we lived it. We understand cooperation because we needed it. And we understand protection because we've seen what happens when we don't practice it. So the answer is yes, Kyung-soo said. We're still predators. But we choose what we hunt. The sun had set outside. Through the windows, the preserve was dark, except for distant lights marking the safe paths. Somewhere out there, Taeyang was hunting. Somewhere else, wolves were coordinating their next attack. Somewhere, bears were fishing in streams, and humans were protecting it all. The former apex predators had become guardians, not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to choose a different path. That night, as they prepared to return to the shuttle, Piplix looked back at the preserve one last time. The hatchling understood now. House cats weren't impressive because they were predators. They were impressive because humans had taken something deadly and made it a companion. Because humans saw the tiger in the cat and decided to make it family. Only a true predator could do that. Only a species that understood hunting could respect hunters. Only humans would look at a tiger and see something worth saving. The journey back to the Times Stellar Harmony Times was quieter than the journey to Earth. The alien students sat in their seats, looking out at the stars, each lost in their own thoughts. Even Piplix, who usually vibrated with questions and excitement, was still. The hatchling stared at a datapad, reading through notes and watching video clips from the preserve. Daewon sat nearby, giving the students space to process everything they had experienced. He knew from years of teaching that sometimes the most important learning happened in silence, when the mind was working through new information, organizing it, connecting it to existing knowledge. Captain Taeyong's voice came through the speakers. "We'll dock with the times, Stellar Harmony times, in about 4 hours. Everyone's looking forward to hearing about your trip. 4 hours. Then they would be back to normal station life. Back to classes and routines. But nothing would be quite the same for these students. They had seen Earth. They had seen what humans came from. They understood now in a way that no classroom lesson could teach. Hiram was reviewing footage from the preserve, selecting clips to use in future educational materials. She looked up and caught Day One's eye. "They're processing," she said quietly. "I know. That's good. Think we changed how they see humans? I think we changed how they see everything, including their own species." Vilmoth approached from the back of the shuttle. The Voth instructor had been writing a report for the Coalition Education Board. He settled into a seat near Day One with a heavy sigh. "That was educational," he said. "And disturbing." "Disturbing how?" "I have spent 20 years studying various species in the Coalition. I thought I understood humans. You seemed so peaceful, so cooperative, so dedicated to diplomacy and mutual understanding. But after seeing Earth, seeing where you come from, I realize I understood nothing." Day One nodded. "We are peaceful. We are cooperative. But we're also survivors from a death world. Both things are true. The other Coalition species need to know this, need to understand this. You're not peaceful because you're weak. You're peaceful because you choose to be. That's very different. Is that going in your report?" "Yes." "Along with a recommendation that more exchange programs like this should happen. The galaxy needs to understand humans better. Not fear you, but respect where you came from and what you're capable of." Movement caught Day One's attention. Piplix had unstrapped from their seat and was approaching. The hatchling's antennae were held at a questioning angle. "Teacher Day One, may I ask something?" "Of course. On my world, the Veltari world, there are no large predators. There never were. The most dangerous creature is a small, venomous insect, and we learned to avoid them early in our evolution. We developed intelligence and society in peace. We thought that was normal, that predators were rare in the galaxy. It is normal for most species," Day One said. "Earth is unusual. Most civilized species came from relatively peaceful worlds. But that means we're fragile, doesn't it? My people, and most Coalition species, we've never had to fight for survival the way humans did. We don't have those instincts, that persistence, that ability to face danger and keep going." It wasn't really a question. But Day One heard what the hatchling was really asking. "Am I weak? Is my species weak? Will we always be less than humans?" "Different isn't the same as weak," he said carefully. "Your species has gifts humans don't have. The Veltari are incredible engineers. Your people can see light frequencies humans can't. You can communicate through chemical signals we're blind to. Every species has strengths. But in a crisis, humans would survive where we might not. Maybe. But humans also need species like yours. We're too aggressive sometimes. Too competitive. Too focused on challenges and conquest. Peaceful species remind us there are other ways to live. Better ways. Sometimes." Piplix considered this. "I used to think humans were strange. Keeping predators as pets. Living on a dangerous world. Seeking risk. But now I understand. You're not strange. You're adapted to your environment. You're products of Earth. Yes. And that makes you dangerous. Yes. But also capable of great kindness. Great protection. You save the tigers when you could kill them. You share your knowledge when you could keep it secret. You help other species when you could dominate them." Day One smiled. "That's the paradox of humanity. We're capable of great violence and great compassion. Often, at the same time. We can be fierce protectors or terrible destroyers. The choice is ours. I hope you always choose protection, Piplix said quietly. So do we. The hatchling returned to their seat. Through the window, the Time's stellar harmony times was visible now, growing larger as they approached. The massive diplomatic station represented everything the coalition stood for. Peace, cooperation, understanding between species. And it was maintained partly by humans, the persistence hunters who had learned to chase different goals. When they docked, a crowd was waiting. Other students, teachers, station personnel. Everyone wanted to hear about the trip to Earth. The alien students were immediately surrounded by questions. What was it like? What did you see? Were you scared? Piplix answered them all, antennae waving enthusiastically. Yes, Earth was dangerous. Yes, the tigers were terrifying. Yes, humans were even more impressive than anyone realized. But the most important thing, the thing everyone needed to understand, was that humans chose peace. They chose cooperation. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Over the next few days, something interesting happened. Piplix wrote a report about the trip. Just a simple school assignment, documenting what had been learned, but the hatchling included video clips from the preserve, footage of Taeyang roaring, images of wolves hunting, recordings of Professor Kyung-soo explaining persistence hunting, and most importantly, Piplix included their own analysis of what it all meant. The report was titled, Why Humans Keep Small Predators as Pets, a Study in Evolutionary Perspective. It was supposed to be read by Day One, and maybe a few other teachers, but another student shared it on the station's educational network. Then someone forwarded it to other stations. Then it reached coalition educational boards across multiple systems. Within 2 weeks, Piplix's report had been viewed by millions of beings across the galaxy. It sparked conversations, debates, requests for more information about Earth and human evolution. Other species wanted to understand these strange persistence hunters who had somehow become peaceful diplomats, who kept predators as companions, who protected the very creatures they had once competed with. The Coalition Education Board contacted Day One directly. They wanted to sponsor more educational trips to Earth. They wanted to create exchange programs where alien students could learn about human worlds and human students could learn about alien worlds. They wanted to use Piplix's report as a template for cultural understanding. You started something, Hirim told him over dinner one evening. They were in the station's Earth cuisine section, eating bibimbap and discussing the sudden flood of interest in human education programs. Piplix started it, Day One corrected. I just showed them a tiger. You showed them what humanity is. That's bigger than a tiger. Maybe she was right. Maybe helping aliens understand humans was the most important teaching he could do. Not just facts about Earth or biology lessons, but the deeper truth of what made humans human. The persistence, the adaptability, the choice to be protectors instead of predators. 3 months after the trip, Piplix came to see him. The hatchling had grown noticeably larger and moved with more confidence. Success and attention had been good for the young Veltari. Teacher Day One. I've been offered a position with the Coalition's Cultural Exchange Program. They want me to help design educational experiences for young aliens, learning about different species. I would travel to many worlds, learn about many cultures, and teach others what I've learned. That's wonderful, Piplix. You'll be excellent at it. I wanted to thank you. Before the trip to Earth, I thought I understood the galaxy. I thought all species were mostly similar, different shapes and needs, but fundamentally the same. You showed me that differences run deeper, that evolution shapes not just bodies but minds and cultures, that to truly understand another species, you have to see where they come from. You learned that all on your own. I just provided the field trip. Still, I'm grateful. And I have one more question, if you'll allow it. Always. If you could go back in time and change human evolution, would you? Would you choose to come from a peaceful world instead of a death world? To evolve without predators and danger? It was a profound question. Day One thought about it carefully. No, he said finally. Earth made us who we are. The dangers taught us persistence. The predators taught us cooperation. The challenges taught us to adapt and innovate. If we came from a peaceful world, we'd be different people. Maybe better in some ways. Maybe worse in others. But we wouldn't be us. That's what I thought you'd say. Piplix's antennae curled in what Day One had learned was the Veltari equivalent of a smile. Humans don't regret where you came from. You embrace it. We embrace all of it. The danger and the beauty, the predators and the prey, the violence and the peace. Earth made us survivors. We made ourselves more than that. They talked for a while longer about Piplix's new position and future plans. Eventually, the hatchling left to prepare for travel to their first assignment. Day One watched them go, feeling proud. That evening, alone in his quarters, Day One pulled up a video file from his personal collection. It was old footage from one of his trips home to Korea, back before he joined the coalition. In the video, he was hiking through the mountains near Gangwon. Young Day One in the video stood perfectly still, hardly breathing. The tiger looked at him, blinked slowly, then went back to resting. It knew he was there. It didn't care. He wasn't prey. He wasn't a threat. He was just another creature sharing the world. After 5 minutes, the tiger stood, stretched, and walked away. Young Day One let out a breath he'd been holding and laughed with relief and wonder. That moment had changed his life, had made him want to study Earth's wildlife, had eventually led him to teaching aliens about humanity and Earth, all because he stood in the presence of a tiger and survived. He closed the video and looked out his window at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, a small blue dot among billions of worlds, a death world where life had evolved to be fierce and beautiful and persistent, where predators learned to protect, where hunters learned to heal, where violence became peace, not through weakness, but through choice. And somewhere on that world, tigers still roared in preserved forests, wolves still hunted in packs, bears still fished in streams, all protected by the apex predators who had evolved beyond pure predation. Humans, the persistence hunters who learned to hunt bigger challenges, the toolmakers who built starships, the pack animals who formed a civilization, the competitors who chose cooperation, the predators who became protectors, the species that looked at a house cat and remembered the tiger. That saw the danger and kept it close anyway. That understood violence intimately and chose peace deliberately. That was humanity. And now, thanks to a curious hatchling and a field trip to see a tiger, the galaxy was beginning to understand it too. Day One smiled and pulled up his schedule for tomorrow's classes. More lessons to teach. More minds to open. More bridges to build between species. It was good work. Important work. But first thing tomorrow, he would send a message to the Coalition Education Board. He had an idea for the next field trip. If they thought tigers were impressive, wait until they learned what humans had done with wolves. He laughed to himself. Probably better to space these revelations out. Give the aliens time to adjust. No need to overwhelm them all at once. Though eventually, they would need to learn. About dogs and horses. About agriculture and cities. About how humans had reshaped entire continents to suit their needs. About space travel and terraforming and all the other ways humans had taken their persistence hunting instincts and applied them to the universe itself. But that could wait. For now, the lesson was simple and profound. A house cat is small because humans made it small. The tiger remains because humans chose to let it remain. And that choice, that ability to domesticate some predators and protect others, to be dangerous and kind simultaneously, was what made humans unique in the galaxy. The persistence hunters who learned empathy. The survivors who became saviors. The predators who chose peace. That was humanity. And it was a story worth sharing.